Hey everybody, this is James
and Marco,
and it's just us. It's just us for this secret episode. So the guys originally, the plan was that everybody's supposed to do a one-on-one episode with me, go over any movie that you want to talk about. It's more of a sit down, kind of more of a casual discussion, I'd say. And to build a little intimate, and to build his months ago, and everybody else is like, hey. Guess we'll just wait. So, of course, everybody, you guys won't ever know, but I mean, the last two guys want to go do it back to back. So here we are. So,
yeah. So James hit us up and said, "Hey, 2024 is almost over. You want to fucking do your homework now?"
Yeah, you guys want to do the extra one? Because as you guys know, we won't have a new episode this coming week. Dating this, the last episode we recorded was the Venom and Star Trek 6 episode. So. And we won't actually be back until, I believe, close to Thanksgiving. So we're filling it in with some secret episodes here. This secret episode, as you can tell probably by the title, is going to be a review of the 1995 film 12 Monkeys.
No license, no prints, no warrants. Well, he took on 5 cops like he was dusted to the eyeballs.
What year is this?
What year do you think it is?
1996.
That's the future, James. Do you think you're living in the future?
I'm simply trying to gather information to help the people in the present trace the path of the virus.
We're not in the present now.
This is a place for crazy people.
I'm not saying you're not mentally ill. For all I know, you're crazy as a loon.
So, 12 Monkeys, 1995, sitting at 88% of Rotten Tomatoes. In a future world devastated by disease, a convict is set back in time to gather information about the man-made virus that wiped out most of the human population on the planet. Directed by Terry Gilliam. He also directed 1985's Brazil, 1981's Time Bandits, and one of the classics, 1975, Monty Python and the Holy Grail. As you know, he was part of the Monty Python troupe.
Mm-hmm.
So this is written by David Webb Peoples, who wrote Unforgiven in 92, Blade Runner in 82, and Soldier in 1998, as well as Janie Peoples. Based on the film La Chetty, written by Chris Marker, and released on December 28th, 1995. With a budget of $29 million, this definitely was a box office hit, $168.8 million. This stars Bruce Willis as James Cole, Madeline Stowe as Dr. Catherine Rayleigh, Brad Pitt as Jeffrey Goins, Christopher Plummer as Dr. Leland Goins, David Morse as Dr. Peters, John Cena as Jose, and Christopher Meloni as Lieutenant Halpern. So let's start it out, Marco, because you chose this movie. So first off, tell me about your experiences with this film and why did you want to discuss this one today and do a little mini review breakdown?
I first saw this movie in theaters in 95 because, I'm old as fuck. So I was like 42, 43 around this time.
Yeah, definitely.
Who's keeping track? I saw this at our very old movie theater in Fairfield, Cinema 6. I remember having sort of mixed feelings at first when I first saw it, and then I went to go see it again, and like everything sort of just hit a little better. And over the years, I've seen it on and off. Like I owned it on DVD, and I would watch it every now and then when it was streaming somewhere. But it's been at least a decade since I have seen this movie, and I saw that there was a 4K release, and I was like, oh, that would be an interesting one to do, kind of going with our theme this year of doing restored movies of yesteryear.
Yeah. Yep.
And I thought, and this one, I always see this movie as like a hidden gem. It's not one where you'd go to somebody and be like, hey man, you feel like watching 12 Monkeys today? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
it's pretty specific, I think.
Yeah. But if you happen to mention it to someone who loves movies or who sees a lot of movies, they'll be like, "Oh shit, I remember that movie. It's pretty good." It's not just one that you would just randomly pick up and sit down and watch. And that's kind of what I was going for. It's kind of similar.
I almost feel like Terry Gilliam was kind of like that, though, right?
Exactly. Yeah. You have to be in the mood, or you have to like really want to have a craving to watch it. I listened to yours and the Bill's episode, and like even Chinatown is kind of like that. It's not one where you're like, hey man, you want to watch Chinatown tonight? It's like,
although I will say Chinatown is like, that is one of the top movies, I think, to a lot of people on a lot of lists. That's like a best film ever made kind of thing. And that was a good rewatch too. So
Yeah.
I can see why. Maybe that's like a really film student heavy kind of film too, I think.
Exactly. Yeah. So with that said, I wanted to pick a movie from, I want to do one sort of around like the 90s, something that maybe was around when we were alive. And again, something that was a little hidden gem that you really wouldn't
almost
like.
I mean,
watch
I don't know
every
if
day.
it's a hidden gem because technically this movie did really well. So obviously,
Right.
I would almost say it's like a forgotten gem, maybe. Like a lot of people just don't remember it, probably.
Yeah, I would say that. Or forgotten gem.
Nearly 30 years. We saw it. So yeah, the 4K actually is only available physically on this one from Arrow Video. So something to note on that. You just bought it, right?
I did. I got it right here.
See, you have the copy that doesn't have the disc skip in it. I have a disc skip in mine. I have the first printing of mine, which has an error, and I can't trade it into Arrow because I missed out on the date that they did it on. So,
oh damn!
It's not even a huge deal, by the way. It's like a 10-second loop that it just repeats itself, and it's weird. Like, what the hell? Okay.
So, what do you have to do? You gotta like hit fast forward or something?
No,
or?
you just let it play. It just plays out. It does a loop where it plays the same scene over 10 seconds earlier than it needs to be on there.
Is it one where he's like butt ass naked and he's getting showered? Is it that one?
It's when he's interrogated. It's when he's being interrogated for like the second time, I think.
Oh, okay.
So, and truthfully, if you don't even look for it, if you don't know about it, you probably would think it's just part of the movie, and it's just like, oh, that was shot kind of shitty. But
damn.
Yeah, Terry Gilliam he's one of those directors to me that is. I thought I was maybe hit or miss on him, but I looked at his filmography and I was like, you know what? I like most of his like movies. His number one masterpiece in my mind is Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas.
Yeah, absolutely.
This movie definitely has vibes of like Brazil.
Funny, I almost chose that movie.
Really?
Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas. Yeah.
Oh, great movie, by the way. But like his other movie, Brazil, this one is kind of the same kind of feel to it all. He's always kind of this quirky kind of feel to his movie. It's kind of weird. Like I know when it's when it's one of his films. Strangely enough, the way that he shoots it and the way that things are kind of presented in them, it's very of their time sometimes. I think too for this one.
Yeah.
So I didn't see this in theaters. Obviously, I was 7 when this came out, so I was a little. There's no way I would understand. I remember the posters though. I remember the poster with Bruce Willis with the red eye, or like the shining red eye coming out. I was like, is that Terminator?
It almost did. I remember the trailer, man. The trailer really
I don't remember the trailer at all,
caught
man.
my attention.
I just remember the stupid fucking poster everywhere. The poster was everywhere. I think at like Hollywood Video, it was probably like a standee or something too. I was like, what is that movie? And then I didn't see it until like college, probably community college, and I think I saw it on like a recording off of TNT. To tell you the truth, it was one of those. It was on there a lot, I think.
Yeah,
for some reason.
Watching that intro with the music playing with that distinct music and the monkeys like rotating, it gave you this kind of like weird, uneasy feeling in the movie theater. Like you're like, what am I about to see right now?
Oh, really? Okay, I can see that. Yeah, but I'm kind of mid on this movie. I'm not a huge fan of this one. It's one of those movies that I think because I don't have nostalgia for it, that it doesn't quite work for me. But I mean, we'll jump into that. So just like our first one we did with Chinatown, when I did it with Nabil, we're kind of just going to go through the movie itself. So this is a spoiler. Once again, it's almost a 30-year anniversary at this point. I mean, you had a lot of time. And maybe if you really are interested, I'd say stop it, pause this right now, and then go watch the movie. And then come back and listen to us because it's almost like you're sitting with us just listening to two guys talk about a movie. We do with every episode technically. So
basically, I wonder if there is someone out there who really does do that and it's just like, haven't seen this movie. I just want to see what these guys are going to say.
I mean, yeah, we got some people that haven't seen it that sometimes do it. I'm like, those are the real fans, I guess.
Yeah, the ride or dies.
So let's get into it then. So the beginning of the film, we're with Bruce Willis. He's getting all. This is like such a Terry Gilliam film. Like the way that his costume looks, his little. It looks ridiculous. This fucking clear plastic suit to protect himself from the elements and wild animals roaming the world because it's post-apocalyptic, right?
He looks like sorry, I'm Latino, by the way, so you know I could say this. He looks like a Latino couch. Just fucking.
Oh no, trust me, Filipinos do that too.
just wrapped around in plastic. I'm just like,
dude, it's super uncomfortable. Fuck. It's like, you're kind of taken away from the comfort of this. Like, yeah, but it'll last longer now.
Yeah.
Like, but no one's going to like this.
You're just trying to fucking protect it, keep it pristine and shit. I guess it comes from, but yeah, it's fucking unique. It's weird, but I've never seen anything like that for post-apocalyptic shit.
Yeah, they take it in like a maybe, but I mean, where it does skip any, like reality, I guess, is when they jump right into they're going to send Cole back to the past because he's really good at memorizing things, and they want to find out where this virus that destroyed the world started from, so that they can send, what is it? Either he takes it or he sends a scientist back to help develop a cure, right, or something.
Yeah, it's really just because they don't really establish this at the beginning, but they can't change the past. It's really just to help them supposedly in the future, help them develop a cure, because everyone is living underground at this point in Philadelphia. They have these like underground bunkers that look sort of like industrial, and
it's very industrial steampunkish. Yeah. Kind of like a 90s steampunk though. Not quite there.
Yeah, it's not fully there.
No suspenders.
It's not quite Wild Wild West. So.
Yeah. Or Steam Boy, I guess. But I think it was funny though, like, because they basically, that's his, because he's like, technically he's a prisoner, right? And then like if they do this, he'll get pardoned.
Yeah.
And then he'll basically, be set free, blah blah. So meanwhile though, the whole time he is having these little nightmares where he is dreaming, supposedly, and he's remembering an airport, like when he was a kid and somebody was getting gunned down in front of him, and that does come back later in the story, a nice little circle of life kind of thing. But when he does get sent back for the first time, he actually is supposed to go back to 96, because 1996 is the year when the virus spread. So he was like, okay, we'll go back then. But no, he ends up in 1990.
So you're that Skynet becomes aware. I know.
Oh, is it?
I think so.
My God. So he goes there though, and he's 6 years too early, and that is basically everybody thinks he's just nuts, because he's like, oh, this stuff's gonna happen, and I'm from the future. He's a little too honest.
Shit too, like
he's a little too honest. He's like, yeah, the air, and that's where he meets Dr. Catherine Riley, who is played by Madeline Stowe, who becomes his romantic interest later as well. But this is her in 1990 though. She just thinks like, okay, he's just crazy. He's rambling on. There's a lot going on with it too, and it's like, okay.
But she's intrigued by his story and this illness supposedly that he has.
A bit, but she's kind of like, okay, but maybe she's just doing it just to do it, because she's like, oh, I don't work for the police. So, I'm here to help you out, kind of thing. Like somebody would tell someone if they're maybe in a mental institute, right? And that is where he meets Brad Pitt's character, though, Jeffrey Goins. He just calls him Goins, right? And Goins is, well, I mean, we find out later that he has a connection to the Army of the 12 Monkeys, right? So there's a whole plot where they think the Army of the 12 Monkeys is what started the spread of the virus, right?
Yeah. Goins himself is a character.
Yes. And he's actually just, I mean, this is a spoiler. He's just a red herring the entire movie, actually. He actually has nothing to do with any of the actions that happen later on in the movie, technically.
Which they do a pretty good job establishing the red herring too, with Cole watching TV and seeing what's going on in the 90s and saying like, maybe humans do deserve to die. And Goins is talking about like, what are you saying? Like, wipe us all out type of thing. He's like, I think you're onto something there. And it makes you really think like, oh shit, Cole implanted the idea to Goins.
Yeah, you think of that, but no, Goins is just kind of a dipshit, actually. When you find out, and like, he's not stable. He's from a really rich family. I don't know if they ever tell you why he's there in 1990, but he's there.
No, like he obviously has issues. His dad is a super rich like biochem.
He's the real doctor that he actually is.
He's a CEO of like this biotech company, and I think he puts them there probably to avoid embarrassment, because then eventually he gets them out and then makes them all look important and everything.
And I guess, I mean, theoretically he's he's with David Morse's character of Dr. Peters as the one that is actually the one that spreads the virus
Yeah.
on his trip. So like they do have a connection. So that is kind of where it comes from.
Yeah.
But I mean, once again though, I thought Brad Pitt was actually pretty solid here. I liked his performance.
Yeah.
He's really over the top with it. He was nominated for an Academy Award. I didn't even know that for this movie, for this role. So
one of his memorable characters for sure. Apparently, Terry Gilliam took away Brad Pitt's cigarettes to make him act a little more wonky, and it worked. And
oh, really? That's cool.
Because he couldn't really get Brad Pitt to act the way that Terry Gilliam wanted him to. So his solution was like, let me take away cigarettes, and that kind of helped Brad Pitt get into character.
He's like, I'm going through a nicotine withdrawal, baby.
Basically, we're watching him like delve into a nicotine withdrawal, yeah.
So I thought it was funny, though, that basically you're supposed to call a number, right? And then that number brings you back to the future, basically. This is where it's so like Terry Gilliam. I'm like, okay, man. And he calls a number. He's like, give me a chance, give me a chance. He calls a number, and it basically goes back to the lady that's like, who are you talking about, right? That's some random lady.
That's one of my favorite scenes, dude. She's like, scientist? I don't know any fucking scientists.
Yeah.
Oh,
but
man.
It's weird, though. He still does get out of there, though. They do find it eventually, the message, somehow.
Somehow they do. And we actually...
They play it back because they're like, it was you that left this message, right?
Yeah.
And that's why he brought you back. And he's like, yeah, because I was in the wrong time period.
Yeah. And before that, we actually... They play him a message also that he's never heard before, where it's saying like the 12 monkeys like are the ones that started. Yeah. And you know the address of where it's at. Have a Merry Christmas, and he's like, "What? I don't know what that is." And it comes to it. That comes, you know,
comes back
later on.
Yeah, later
in the movie
with him and the doctor. So then he goes back again because he has to convince everybody, like, "Hey, let me go back because like I messed up." Because he wants, basically, it's because he wants to get out of the prison sentence he has basically in the future. So
yeah,
so like you're really close. Just go back. So he goes back one more time. He makes it to 1996. And then he kind of kidnaps Dr. Rayleigh, actually, in a way. Like he shows up in the snow. And he's like, I have a gun. I was like,
kinda, he sees that she's doing this presentation now in 96, 6 years after they've met. 6 years for her, but you know.
By the way, we forgot to mention he does first go back to what, World War I, I believe.
Oh
right?
yeah.
Forgot to mention that. He goes back first.
Which is funny because when he gets arrested the first time, he asks the cop, where you going? And he says, the south of France. And he ends up in France in World War I. Thought it was hilarious.
They're mentioning stuff.
Yeah.
I thought it was hilarious when they photo of him just like this. It's like hell like, I was like, what the fuck is he doing?
And he meets also one of the other supporting characters, Jose, my cousin.
Yeah,
and he's there
because he was sent back previously, but lost in time, apparently, right, or something.
Right. So he's there for a while, gets shot in the leg, and then gets transported in 96, where he sees the doc who's presenting a book on the, I forgot the name exactly, but
it's like the unknown soldier or something. It's him, basically. It's about him.
No, it's on her book called, I think it's called the Cassandra Theory or something like that, which is like a study of mental illnesses where people foresee the future, no one believes them, and she's been studying like people who've had this mental illness over the years, inspired by Cole. So that's why he goes there to see her, because he trusts her, and he's like, he's still in Boston. For some reason, the time machine keeps sending him to Boston instead of Philadelphia, where he's supposed to be. And so
he and then he comes out there. And he basically convinces her finally. I think she's kind of already like noticing stuff, especially when they take the bullet out of him. And they're like, that bullet's like 100 years old, you know, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Or 90 years old. Like, are you sure that's an antique? And then everything starts kind of clicking for them, right? So that works to a point, I think. It's just, I feel like she flips the switch a little too quickly, in my opinion.
That's a little mishandled in the movie, yeah, because she's very hardened into thinking that he's mentally ill. I mean, she fucking wrote a book on it, you know, that made her, you know, super popular amongst, you know, the science community, which ends up actually, ironically, catching the attention of Dr. Peter, who's the one that develops the virus, and he's a huge fan of the book and like what it states about like all these people talking about the ever impending doom that humanity is supposed to face. But
Yeah.
I think she does switch a little too fast.
And she kind of falls for him a little too. Like she's like, we're gonna leave together and go to the Florida Keys.
See, that's more handled more haphazardly than her switching sides. Really, in my opinion, it's like, because it is weird, to see like, holy shit, he's got a bullet from World War II, and then she sees like the photo and sees that it's him, so she starts connecting the dots and thinks that maybe it is him. But then,
I mean, I think it's as soon as she sees the photo where he's coming out of the foxhole. Oh my god!
But then, in addition to that, like they test the theory again, where they go dial the number, and it's 96, which is supposed to be the correct year he was sent. The voicemail is supposed to be set up, but she gets like the voicemail of a laundromat or something, and she starts leaving the message, starts telling Cole about it, and he word for word finishes the rest of the message without even hearing her, and figures out that it was a future message that they heard earlier, which I thought was pretty cool. That's actually one of my favorite scenes. That's like, when they realize shit.
Well, that is also when he comes back again. Once again, then he goes back to the future. I think they do it too many times, man. I'm like, dude, he should have stayed the whole time. Or I get it, from 1990, then he comes back to 96. I think he jumps too many times, in my opinion.
Do you think he did that in order to make the audience feel like, is he really insane? Are these images he's seeing in his head, or is this really happening?
And it's something to do with because he's done it too many times or something, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's why the last time he comes back, he's kind of like, no, I need help. And like he's trying to yell to a cop. But then it's Dr. Rayleigh who's like, no, we have to find out what's going on here,
Yeah.
And then they realize that the 12 Monkeys army, they're like I said, Goins is out there. It's nothing. They just release animals from a zoo. That's it.
Yeah. They just make one big statement, and that's it. They release animals from a zoo. He does that in order to say F you to his dad.
Yeah.
And that's about it. Like that's
all it is.
Yeah, they're
farting
nothing
to
do
with the actual virus. And when they find out about that, because they're on their way to the airport, remember?
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, wait, okay, everything's going to be fine. We just got to get out of here. We can live happily together, because he's not going back, basically.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, though, he gets to the airport, and then Marco's cousin's there. And he stops him. And he's like, Jose's like, hey, man. So, like, he gives him a gun, and he's like, you have to finish this out, because he realizes that Dr. Peters is there with by the way, just got the virus in his little briefcase thing. The guy's just like, what this? He's just touching it. And he's like,
This is like, pre 9/11, where you could bring like hairspray and pocket knives and shit in the plane. No one would say shit.
It even has like the biohazard thing on the side of it too. I'm like, I don't know if they'd let that one on, man.
They were like, okay.
I was like, as long as you got, and he's like, I got the paperwork for it. I'm like, what?
I know, right?
When she lists off all the places he's gonna go, I'm like, that sounds like it'd be a global fucking pandemic, right? She's like, Sweden too? Wow.
He's like, I'm going on tour, baby.
Basically. So he does that. Do they ever break down why he's gonna do that, by the way?
I don't think they do. I think they briefly mentioned it when Cole is in the future and he's talking to the panel of people that are sending him back, and they say that the scientist or whoever released the virus strategically chose those cities because they have a high dense of population.
That makes sense.
And so it would spread like faster.
That makes sense, actually. Okay. And then the twist, though, through it all is that Cole basically realizes that he is the guy that he's been seeing in his dreams when he was a kid, because Cole is there as well with his mom, I believe, a young Cole, and he witnesses Cole getting gunned down and dying. And I believe Dr. Rayleigh knows that too. She notices the kid watching, so she's like, she's like smiling. She's like, okay.
Yeah, she remembers him telling her about the dream and realizes, oh shit, he saw himself. Now she knows time travel is real, and looks for him, and then sees him, and I'm pretty sure she like recognizes him and realizes that's young Cole,
right? Even though they look nothing alike, she's like, I hope that's the kid.
Yeah.
If not, this is gonna blow someone's mind the rest of their life.
Yeah.
And then the Dr. Peters just show up on the plane, and then he is talking to one of the people who's actually from the panel, I believe, right in the future.
Yeah.
So is that like, did they travel back, or do they have something to do with it? Is that because she's like, I'm here for insurance? So I don't know how you want to contemplate that ending.
I see. I'm wondering if I should talk about this later or not. But the way I saw that is that the fact that she mentioned I'm here for insurance is that they never really trusted Cole to do like anything.
The job, basically. I think,
yeah, right.
Because then why the hell's Jose there at the end? Like, hey, you took out your chip, right?
Exactly. Yeah,
He pulled his teeth out, and the guy's like, "What the fuck?"
And it's almost like just like the 12 monkeys were a red herring, Cole was a red herring in trying to really, he was a patsy. Basically, he's supposed to get, they make him get shot so that they can board the plane. One of them can board the plane, get with the scientists, and possibly like figure out how to cure it. Because again, they can't change the past, right? So the only way to really figure out how the virus works is to befriend the guy that actually made the virus and knows everything about it. So
it's true, because the way that it plays out too is that, like, one of the discussion topics we talked about was basically because he's not there to prevent it, like you said, right? He's there to gather information. So it's trying to focus on understanding rather than altering events themselves.
Yeah.
So the movie does imply that learning from history is more impactful than attempting to rewrite it. So
exactly.
I mean, I think that actually reflects really well in the film's message, basically, because they're like, you can't prevent this from happening, no matter what's going to happen. But the whole point of the film is that he's supposed to go back, and I mean, it's almost like he's supposed to live out that loop, basically. Like, he has to live out that loop, right?
Right. Like, eventually they will find something, some bit of information that will help them find a cure or strengthen their situation in the future, because it's like reading history and seeing like you can't change any of that shit. You just basically this is their version of studying like the past and seeing like what can we learn from this, like how can we get from this. And it almost makes sense to be in the loop, because at times you have to go over the research over and over and over again to figure out like, okay, what's the pattern? What are we not seeing here?
So do you think with that time loop though, that Cole's future is predestined, basically? Like, is he trapped in an endless cycle? Because theoretically now that's a loop. So now that kid's still going to live out the rest of these events that he's just gone through. And he's just going to keep going over and over. It's kind of, that is one of the things that I kind of liked, is the aspect of thinking about that.
I think the tragedy is that Cole himself is the sacrificial lamb or monkey in this point that is stuck in an everlasting loop. And his sacrifice of reliving that over and over again is what helps like humanity. Like, he's not the one to save it, but he is a tool and he is a presence that is there to help them. Like, and it works in line with them talking about, you know, experimenting on monkeys and stuff. Well, now they've moved from experimenting on monkeys in cages to humans, prisoners in cages, which is him. Yeah, and he's the experiment. They're running him in a time loop, and I almost feel like they have to be aware that they are doing that, because that is the only way to keep helping the future. Is, okay, we didn't get it this time around, we're going to get it again maybe next. Eventually one of our realities is going to get it right. And I think that's a good way to look at it. I think the ending is more representative of they finally broke the loop for them, not him. He's stuck. But for them, they're going to be able to move forward. It could be
why she's on the plane basically at the end, right?
Yeah, that's why I think she's on the plane. That's my interpretation, at least. Like, I mean, it could be that no, they're forever stuck in this. There's no way out of it, which I wouldn't be surprised for Terry Gilliam too.
Yeah, which I mean, it opens a discussion of, like, we've talked about it as well in discussions, ones like Cole and humanity at large are forever kind of caught in a self-destructive loop itself. And I mean, that's definitely that. Like I said, that feels like a Terry Gilliam kind of theme.
Yeah,
it's like no matter what, like their own destruction is what causes all this. So this is endless, and there's no light at the end of the tunnel. Like, god damn, dude. So.
Right? Yeah. The flip side of that is, well, maybe we never learn from our history. We can look at it over and over again, but we end up making the same mistakes, making the same, following the same steps.
Is that why they're maybe trying to imply that we're trying to learn from it instead of changing it? I guess so. Therefore, future loops are possibly the future, in quote unquote, the future itself could maybe benefit from that. I guess is kind of what they're kind of
I think it could go either way. Either they stay stuck in this loop and never learn from it, or they eventually see a pattern that they'd never seen before and are like, oh, okay, like maybe this is the first time they've ever discovered that it's Dr. Peters and not the 12 monkeys.
Yeah,
maybe something.
Because maybe the whole time. Yeah, that's true. Because then maybe the whole time they thought it was Goins because they have even a photo of him, right? Like, did you see this guy?
Right.
He's like, he was in the mental institute with me.
And maybe like Cole's own like semi insanity from time traveling too much and foreseeing like his eventual death, going through it so many times, maybe it altered something, and maybe he finally made.
I think so.
Who knows? Maybe maybe this is the only reality where he pulls out his teeth.
Yeah, true. Like something happened, right? So Cole is like a flawed hero, though, right?
Yeah.
Once again, a very, very Terry Gilliam kind of thing. But he's kind of like, he's very vulnerable. He's not, he's all over the place, right? Like like a lot of Terry Gilliam films, they have like really eccentric characters, I think, or they're damaged somehow. They got something going on. It's not like a typical like character. That's why, well, makes most of them pretty interesting for the most part, depending on how you like his movies. But why do you think he is like a flawed character? And like he's traumatized, right? So like, does that make it more relatable? Is it like realistic for his hope for humanity compared to like a normal hero that's like all gung ho and especially during '95 where we have a lot of these kind of macho men kind of characters?
I think so. I think it's meant to challenge the perfect hero and the obsession with this purity fetish we have, where a hero is this perfect being that makes no mistakes, is always good, never does the wrong thing. But in reality, when you look at figures who are considered heroes, they were very flawed. They had their own issues they were dealing with. And I think it's also like a reflection on humanity. Like we're not perfect. We make mistakes. We do horrible shit, but we're like, humanity is worth saving. It's not to say that, it's the same thing with Cole. Like he's violent. He's a violent criminal who, fights and attacks people, and he ends up killing like people.
He's really strong.
The two guys that he killed, really, I mean, they were going to assault them both. And, he saves the doctor and, bashes the other guy's head in also. I mean, at that point, they've already been subdued. But hey, you know what? Why take any chances?
No! And I was like, let it happen.
Yeah.
Let it happen.
Why take some chances? And it's supposed to show that like, yeah, he's not perfect, but his overarching goal is to do, to try to do something good. Like he sees the bigger picture, which is like his goal is to save humanity. Like killing two random goons that try to stop him from doing his mission like means nothing to him as compared to 5 billion people dying. You know what I mean? Like it's like,
and that's where I think like, because you could see it as like, whoa, he's like really overly violent and stuff, but I'm like, he comes from like a totally different world too, so yeah, you kind of have to take that in. Like he's really, and the fact that he goes back so many times, he obviously, I know, yeah, he's trying to get pardoned and stuff, but he really does want to think he could, complete this mission basically. So
exactly,
he does have these aspects of like a hero kind of type character, I would say. So
yeah,
one thing I do want to bring, like, so with this movie, $29 million budget, right? I think they did pretty good, but with that kind of budget, do you think they would make a movie like this nowadays? Or would this be something that you think would show up as like a lower budgeted indie film, or possibly something like a straight to streaming kind of movie? Or would this be like a theatrically released film?
If you would have asked me this maybe like 3 or 4 years ago, yeah, actually, I can even go back as far as 5 years ago, I would have said no. But now with the rise of A24, this movie has A24 written all over it. Like this would be something
like,
probably
like a Neon, A24, one of those kind of those guys.
It would be one of those niche indie movies that are coming out now. I don't think a major studio like Universal would risk a property like this nowadays.
No,
like
it'd have to be like a existing property,
exactly,
or like a sequel
or
to
remake.
Something.
Yeah,
exactly.
So it would definitely be an indie movie, and even for an indie movie, like 29 million today could be considered a big budget for them, So
even I mean, at the time, I could imagine a pretty big. I think it's the sets really probably what did it. A lot of the sets are pretty out there, to tell you the truth. So
yeah, they purchased a lot of stuff from thrift stores in order to save on the budget and to keep it low. That's why he's wearing like, a couch plastic wrap around him at the beginning of the fucking movie. And
yeah, some of it looks like I'm like, they made this, didn't they?
Yeah, but yeah, if you would have asked me 6 years before superhero fatigue, I would have said like, ain't no fucking way, dude. They're on that hero trip right now, like the real hero, like a quote unquote real hero trip where, Marvel and DC.
Yeah, I mean, they did a lot of this kind of stuff in the mid '90s. Though I feel like, man.
Yeah,
like the
dude.
Postman, this one. Mm-hmm. There's a few of these like post-apocalyptic whatever, like Waterworld too. Because 29 million, put it in an inflation calculator. Nowadays, that'd be like a $60 million movie. So, and to do 60 million, they're not gonna risk it. I think on a lot of original IP, unless it's. Although, only thing I can think of is that Terry Gilliam is the director to pull it, but. His last movie, the Don Quixote movie, The Man Who Killed Don Quixote, was production hell for. I mean, but it was also production hell for years, and it was only like a Fathom event thing. I luckily did get to see it, but even there, I was like, ooh, I wasn't a big fan. So that doesn't show you, like, even when Martin Scorsese says he can't get funding for movies. So I don't know if Terry Gilliam has enough to pull that, but who knows?
It's very hard right now for directors to get like control as it was like back then, or it's starting to see like the studios are like, no, we're in control, like it's our way or the highway for the most part.
It's the way that movies are made are slightly different obviously now.
Yeah, but I was surprised that it even made 5 times its budget back then.
Dude, I was like, this must have been, I can only imagine this was like word of mouth, right? Or maybe, I don't know, maybe people like Bruce Willis and Brad Pitt.
No, dude, the marketing for this movie was actually pretty good, because I distinctly remember watching the trailer in theaters and even on TV and TV spots. So I think the marketing was just handled different back then. It was built different.
Maybe I see. For me, I just do not remember. Unfortunately. So then, for you, then Marco specifically, do you think the movie has aged well? Then
I think for the most part, this movie has aged well. Maybe it has to do with like certain properties like being remade or coming out today, like the Blade Runner series or Dune. Yeah. Like those are very different properties that aren't franchised by studios. Not necessarily. Like I know they're both getting TV shows or whatnot. So I still feel like this in some way or another would be something that you could see today. And I feel like some of the production value and stuff.
Some of it's a little dated.
Yeah, some of it's a little dated.
Some of it reeks of the 90s. I mean, they never even actually explained the time traveling, and I think it's just hilarious that it's like a tunnel. That's the time travel machine.
It's basically an MRI machine, dude.
It's not in 1990.
Yeah, it's an MRI machine. Though, I mean, it is a weird way where you see like the black and white lines.
Yeah. Like I thought of almost like a film reel, like how it's rewinding. That's how I looked at it. I was like, oh, it's like a film reel.
But I feel looking it back, I feel like the ideas and the themes help it age well too. I mean, we just fucking had a pandemic in real life, dude. You know what I mean? And like.
I went back in time. I was like, I'm going to find out how.
Yeah. There were people we were living in. There were people who still didn't fucking believe it. So, I mean, back then, when, people weren't believing him and shit like that. Like, I know time travel was involved. It's a little crazier, but.
That'd be us going back, like, let's say we went back even 5 years. Like 2015, right? 2015. Yeah. They were like, in 5 years, this is going to happen. If you started spouting that out from the corner, you'd probably get arrested, dude. They're like, this guy's like starting to panic. He's talking crazy. You're like, I'm from the future. Please help me.
You got to stop 2020. But I think...
Stop him from eating the bed.
Tell them no. I think because of that, it's helped age well. Again, you asked me like maybe 6 years ago, I'd probably be like, kind of, sort of, I guess, maybe. But looking things in hindsight from 2024, I'm like, yeah, dude, I think it has aged pretty damn fucking well. I think that this is a sci-fi, and I can't even say cult classic. It was very, very successful at the box office. But I think it's a sci-fi. It's a sci-fi classic.
I didn't even know that, by the way, before we started watching this, that
Same.
it had been that successful of a film. I was like, oh my god! So
I thought it was like one of those movies that was successful, it made money, but not enough for people to like rave and rant about. So that was surprising to me when I found that out.
yeah, but for me, honestly, like I said, I do feel like it is a bit dated. The story, though, I think is interesting enough for it to be like, you guys kind of have to take it like it's a movie made in 1995. Obviously, it's not one of those things where it's like, oh, it's top of the line CG and stuff. Like, it doesn't need it for this one. Even though I'm not the biggest fan, I would still say that it's memorable to a point. Like I said, I hadn't seen this movie in
Makes sense.
so long. Like for you said 10 years. I probably hadn't seen this in like 15 to 16 years.
Jesus.
And I coming into this, it was practically like a brand new movie to me. Just rewatching it because I'd only seen it once before. I haven't seen this one too many times, but I feel like maybe from the success of this is why he was able to make like Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas, which was his next film. Like I said, so I can only imagine. So that's kind of like thanks, because I mean, like I said, I absolutely love that movie, and truthfully, it has a lot of those kind of Terry Gilliam kind of isms to the whole fucking thing too. So
the quirky characters, definitely.
Yeah,
like
it's like it's weird. It's almost like even in this movie, it's just like this could be like a scene in a dream. Like a lot of things, like the future stuff, right? All of it, man. It's just like this is the shit like you think of, and then you wake up like, oh, that was weird. Hopefully that never happens. And then like, what if I filmed it? So overall, though, I mean, that's all that's all I have to say on it. Any other closing thoughts, Marco?
I just really on its influence. I think this movie with its look, I felt kind of help. Maybe not necessarily influence some like the newer sci-fi movies, but
like the Matrix, maybe.
Yeah, like the Matrix, even the remake, not the remake, but the sequel of Blade Runner. I think
2049
looks very like kind of similar, like very like used steampunkish type look, and I think that's what helps make this movie 12 Monkeys age well too. Is the fact that they didn't go like a lot of CGI. I think the CGI from back then would have looked fucking terrible, probably.
Depending on what they would have done. I mean, I think practical effects for this worked out pretty well. So,
yeah, because of its budget size, the practical effects worked. If they had like a big budget like Terminator 2 or Jurassic Park, then I think like, yeah, the CGI would fucking age great. But because it had such a small budget, it relied more heavily on practical effects that did help it age well and look.
I think it's the settings, the sets. They have really good sets in this movie. So
it has a very modern steampunk look too that I see some like futuristic dystopian movies sort of. I don't know if they're directly inspired by this movie, but it looks kind of similar, and it's one of the earlier movies aside from the first Blade Runner where you kind of see that look, and it's a believable, livable future type of feel.
Did you watch the TV show for this one too?
I haven't. That's also another reason why I wanted to watch this one, because I wanted like a fresh look on this movie before I delved into the TV show.
It was like a sci-fi channel, but I think it was on for like 4 seasons, right?
Yeah, 4 seasons. I think it's on Hulu now.
Okay, I didn't know if that was like a sequel or a retelling of this whole thing, but
I've read nothing on it to avoid spoilers, so I don't know if it's a direct sequel or if it's like a spin-off. But everyone that is a fan of this movie has told me if you love this movie or like it or enjoy it, you're gonna like that TV show.
Nice. Okay, well maybe that's something you can check out on your what you're watching one day.
Oh, for sure. I think lastly is just the performance from Bruce Willis and Brad Pitt. I know that we're talking about Terry Gilliam having his actors be kind of like wonky and weird, but I think it helps bring out the characters in the movies. And I think that when you look at these actors, you see those characters like Brad Pitt, you see Goins with...
He's not in the movie as much as I thought he was, by the way.
No, not really.
Strangely enough, I kept thinking I was like, he's not in the movie that long, honestly. Bruce Willis, obviously, yes, main character. He's in it 90% of the time, right? 95% of the time.
But it's still such a memorable performance.
Yeah, I thought it was funny. The performance actually the best is when he comes back in 96 and goes to the house party, and he's there, and he just kind of calls him out, and you see that he's still kind of like nuts. Like he's not wearing his shoes and shit. And he's just like, and he sees him, and then they're like, "Do you know this guy, James Cole?" And he's like, "Never met him in my life." And then he walks, and then as soon as he brings up the 12 Monkeys, then he turns and I'm like, "Oh, James." You know?
even his homies are like, "This guy's a total fucking loon, right?"
Yeah, when they're hiding in the little shop, and I was like, "Dude, they're just with him because he has money to fucking back this stupid shit up."
100%. But even not Brad Pitt, Bruce Willis. This was totally different than his action hero type roles. And Terry Gilliam specifically had a list of Bruce Willis like stereotype things that he does in his other roles that he told him he could not do in this movie. And so that's why it's a much different performance. And I think it even helps Bruce Willis. I know he's a really hard guy to work with. He's kind of an asshole, but speaking of performance only, like this kind of helped him, I think, develop his acting skills a little bit more, because he goes on to do like The Sixth Sense after this, and kind of like more grounded like characters rather than these like superhero characters with one-liners. So it was amazing to kind of see that with him, and even Brad Pitt, who was up and coming during this time. Like, again, you even said it, he's not on screen that much, but it's a still memorable performances from both actors.
Yeah, and I've heard about the Bruce Willis stuff, but I mean, with how he is nowadays too, with his health is so bad. I felt bad watching this and remembering, like, I was like, damn, he's such a good actor, and it's such a shame that he's basically that this is, at least we have these good movies to go back to enjoy and remember how well they are as actors, and
appreciate the art.
Definitely 100%. So I know, like I said, the Kevin Smith stories about him are hilarious, because they were just hating each other, barely made it for Cop Out, I remember. So that's one of the rare ones where I'm like, oh my god,
it sounds like shit we would just say to each other just to like fuck around with each other, like not really mean it, but just to
but they were like, no, they fucking hated each other. So I was like, ooh, that sucks, dude.
Yeah.
Well, with that being said, then that is the end of our special secret episode of 12 Monkeys. Thank you everyone for listening, and we actually don't do an outro for this because it's just me and Marco, but
it's a secret.
It's a secret, even though we posted, and you're like, wait, what's this? I mean, I guess it's a secret because we don't talk about that we're going to do it. So it's a random review. You just be like, oh shit, 12 Monkeys, what the hell? So.
And Nabil, doesn't know we're doing this, and Mikey, we don't know. Oh, Mikey.
Oh my god, Mikey's still not back from the last podcast. We dated ourselves again. So yeah, actually the other guys do not know what this movie is. And actually, like I said, I do have another one with Mikey that I'll be recording soon. And Marco and Nabil don't know what that one is either. So
nope.
Until next time though, everybody, this is James.
And Marco.
Have a great one.